Let's do this. All right. Hey everyone. Hi. Welcome back to my channel. Hi. Okay. All right. So we are doing a end of summer check-in. We're going to talk about why it's the end of summer, even though it feels like we're right in the middle of summer. We're going to talk about that in the video, and mostly I'm just going to give you a little bit of tea on my life. Not that there's much tea, but there's definitely some things that are changing, and I like to keep you all in the loop for that. If you're new to my channel, then hi. I'm Shelly. I'm a writer. What? We're going to talk about that. I'm a writer and I'm a reader, and I love talking about books and reading, both in my writing and on booktube. I'm also a booktuber. I love what I do. And yeah, mostly you're just getting a big earful about my life and what's going on, a couple of updates that I've been meaning to talk to y'all about. And yeah, if you're not subscribed, I would encourage you to subscribe, stick around, and without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. Summer has ended, at least for me, not because the weather is not blazing hot. It is still ridiculously hot outside, but mostly because we are back at school. I am not necessarily teaching classes yet. I'm getting things ready for my classes, but I'm back at work, and I'm glad for the routine. I love my work. I love my job. And so it's been a wonderful thing to be back and being with my colleagues, and I'll be back with students soon, which is going to be awesome. I'm really excited about this year. There's been a lot of evolutions to our campus recently, which has been really interesting, a lot of which has affected me personally, but also lots of other people, lots of moving of classrooms. It's just been a really wonderful and exciting time as we watch our school grow a little bit. So I'm back again. Some people have asked, some people in my real life have asked, why do you go back to school so early? And it's because we get out quite early. My school does. We get out when the weather is still nice here in South Carolina. So really at the beginning of June or even at the end of May, so that at least we'll have a couple of weeks of really beautiful weather. And then we go back early, which is okay with me because we get a lot more rain in August. We get blazing hot days, extremely humid days. And so to be teaching in a classroom in August does not make my heart sad. I'm actually quite glad, because August and September are bad weather months for us. Really, August, September, maybe the beginning of October are really bad weather months for us. It's hurricane season over here. So if you don't live in an area in which you are affected regularly by hurricane season over here, it starts beginning of August, and I think it actually ends at the end of October. I don't know the exact dates, but I know that we've been affected the most August through October. And what's interesting about big, massive storms coming through off the coast is that you can see them from a mile away, literally miles and miles away. Storms are identified, and as the storm moves closer to one's area, the conversation among individuals, it starts to grow. And if you've lived through massive storms, massive hurricanes, as I have, it's really interesting because it's like everybody is on the same awareness. Everyone is aware of this storm. You could ask somebody at the grocery store. One could ask their religious leader, their grocery store clerk, the town council, the person helping with yard work. Everybody knows about this storm and has a sense of what to do, or, sometimes you're learning about it, but you're at least aware of it. So it's really interesting to have everyone in their consciousness know that this thing is coming and start to prepare for a storm. So recently we had Tropical Storm Debby blow through. I think that, at least for me and my family, we were concerned, but we also knew that it wasn't a hurricane. We always know it's really bad when there's evacuation orders in our neighborhood. And when they're like, okay, zone 1, you need to evacuate. And you're like, okay, zone 1, we're not, you start to know your zone. I don't know if we would ever evacuate because we're several miles from the coast. But there are neighborhoods adjacent to ours that would definitely get evacuation orders or the advice to evacuate. We didn't have that with Hurricane Debby, okay, or Tropical Storm Debby. Let me get it right. Tropical Storm Debby. She was just going to drop a lot of rain. There was going to be some strong winds, and we just didn't really know. We didn't know, but thankfully we didn't go into a state of emergency. There weren't any evacuation orders. And so we knew on some level, at least on the state and local level, that it wasn't going to be horrible. We just kind of had to hang on to our hats and wait for the storm to blow through. And so, so it's been interesting. It's back to work, and then we're dealing with this storm, and it's the first week back to work has been an exciting one because of Miss Debby that wanted to shake everything up. But yeah, the storm has mostly passed at this point. We might get a little bit of wind, a little bit of rain. We may get my area is very much prone to flooding, and so we may get some, because my town is one of the last stops for the water before it goes into the ocean. And so what happens is that and our town is full of waterways. There are so many rivers and little inlets and things like that. And so they can get really, really full as the water is trying to push its way out to the ocean. And because of that, because of all of these waterways, and because of how water comes down from upstate, our town tends to get it has had in the past a lot of flooding issues. And so having said that, sometimes it's not necessarily about the rain that we get in our town. It's about the rain that our state gets and the way that rain ends up filtering out onto the ocean. And so if there's a huge storm like Hurricane Florence a few years back, or even Hurricane Matthew, or just a large amount of rain that happens in our area, or even several hundred miles away, if it all happens kind of in the right way or in the wrong way, then my town fills up with water, or all the waterways rather fill up with water, causing a lot of flooding and washed out roads. And just, then the traffic patterns have to change, and we have to just wait for it to drain, which is another really interesting experience. And so thankfully, we thought we were going to get a ton of rain with Tropical Storm Debby, but it's been that we actually haven't gotten a lot of rain, and that's been quite nice. We got a sizable amount, but I don't think enough to put the town in a place where we can't get around, or we're not in a place in which it's really going to affect the majority of people living in this town, I think. But yeah, so thankfully, this storm was way less intense than we were planning on even a couple of days ago. So yeah, I just wanted to update you all randomly on that. Why do I find the weather so interesting? This weather is really moody. I am from California and I moved to South Carolina, and I've had to learn how to be in hurricanes and thick rain and just icky weather, because in California it was pretty predictable, very dry, very different. Out here the weather is extremely moody, so just having to get used to that. And I've always found it kind of fascinating, the change and what it is like to live in a tropically stormy area. Okay, now as I mentioned, I am a writer. I can say that now, y'all, because I have started writing children's book reviews for Open Letters Review. The editor-in-chief is Steve Donahue. There are other editors like Britta Bowler, these two have YouTube channels, and I have wanted to I've wanted to do book reviews for Open Letters for some time, and I've never really carved out the time and had a lot of self-doubt and all of that. So last week I just got myself together and I knuckled down and I started writing, and I will leave my review linked down below, and I'm kind of shy about it, but just know that it's the first one is Gaga Mistake Day, which is by Emma Staub. You would think I would know because I wrote about her, who actually is a novelist, and she ended up writing a book with her mother-in-law, and they wrote a book about what it is like to have a little bit of an eccentric grandmother. But I'm not going to share a bunch of thoughts right now. I'm going to leave it to the review. As I'm thinking about it, it's just been a real joy to have this opportunity to publish some book reviews with Open Letters, and it has brought me just an immense amount of joy to see my work go up, and to have it be read alongside people I admire so much. So that's been a huge feature of the last couple of weeks. Also, in the last couple of weeks, I have quit coffee. This is tea. I made a video about quitting coffee. I will leave that linked down below. And the long short of it was just that I didn't, in brief, I didn't think that coffee was really serving me anymore. As somebody who is an anxious person and so on and so forth, I just didn't think that coffee is the best beverage for me. And so actually I noticed within a day or so that I was getting like tummy aches in the evenings. I was just things were not going well with my stomach and stuff. And I really just thought it was me getting older. Like, I know that I am grateful for my body, but it is not as spry as it once was. And I just thought it was an effect of getting older. And what do you know? All of those issues went away immediately when I stopped drinking coffee. I was so shocked at how much better I felt, just in general. And also, I think that when I started my day, now looking back, I would sort of start it with this like electricity jolt to the brain, which was all of the caffeine and the bump that the coffee would give me. And I think it kind of almost set me on edge. I've already mentioned I'm an anxious person. I kind of run high, like I run a little quick to begin with. And so coffee, I just felt like I think it did give me like a bit of a jolt. I would wake up every single morning with that. I didn't even realize, but I was so addicted. It would be like the first thing I wanted to do was make a cup of coffee so I could start drinking it. And so now, having switched, I just noticed that I'm not on edge as much. Like my nervous system isn't just totally flooded with adrenaline all the time, or right when I first wake up, that there is this period where I'm like slowly waking up, and I don't my mornings are different. Before, I would zombie walk to the coffee maker, make myself a cup of coffee, drink that. I would have 2 cups of coffee in my system by 8 a.m. even. And I would be working on a 3rd cup of coffee, and I was just going through my day, just totally drinking a ton of caffeine. Now I wake up and sometimes I start by walking like a zombie and start making myself a cup of tea, but more likely than not, like I'm just awake and enjoying my morning, the quiet of the morning, and I'm not necessarily feeling like I have that totally addictive nature in which I like zombie walk to the kitchen and make a beverage immediately. I have a couple of different directions I can go with the morning, and it doesn't always have to be a beverage in hand. I can, wait an hour, wait 2 hours before I start to drink a cup of tea. And also just caffeine wise, oh, I got a visitor.
I want to see our players.
I got interrupted, lost my train of thought. Now I'm back. And I think the best thing about quitting coffee is that I just don't feel like I'm under its rule anymore. It doesn't mean that I've given up caffeine completely, but I can feel a huge difference in drinking tea versus drinking coffee. I can feel the difference in my body, in my day, in my mind, in my habits. And I think it has been a tremendous, tremendous thing to have stopped. So that's been wonderful. And yeah, my last, I think really kind of little update is that I have been reading with my oldest son, Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. We started it the other day and we were taking it really slow and we were doing this sort of meandering thing, and I've just been loving it. I don't think I've read Charlotte's Web in years. Like, I know I haven't read it in years. I probably haven't read it since maybe, I think my dad might have read it to me when I was a girl, or to us when we were kids, like me and my siblings when we were younger. But it's been a really, really long time. And as I'm going through, when just doing this thing where I'm like, every word, I'm reading it aloud to Graham. And as I'm reading it, every word, you're pronouncing. And in some ways, there is this unhurried quality about the story. There is like, there's just something about it that seems so perfectly itself. It is itself, and it's not trying to get somewhere right away. And I can tell in the sentences, there are sometimes just these sentences about the way things look and establishing the setting, and I just feel like there's something beautifully unhurried about it that has really struck me as I've taken this really slow pace to read with my son. And I like that. It makes me feel unhurried as I'm reading it.
Games.
Maybe in a minute. I know it's time to go when interruptions abound, and interruptions are abounding. They're starting, they're getting more intense. So I really got to go. But I just wanted to share like this reading with my son that has just been a blessing and a true joy. So that's it from me. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye.